Oh my gosh, some of these players that I drafted, like, what am I supposed to do with Cal? We'll dive into some players that we are panicking on. We'll dive in on what you should be doing with these guys. But right before we get into it, go down there. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And if you have not taken advantage of this, I don't know what you're waiting for. Cooper Kupp, half a receiving yard. Now, y'all know I'm an idiot, right? I get stuff wrong all the time. But I think that the under here is pretty damn appealing. And if you want to go take the under or the over, whatever you would like, on this Cooper Kupp half a receiving yard line, you should have this available to you already if you signed up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. And if you have not done so yet, not too late. Go down to the link in the description of the video. Go down to the link in the comment section. You can find it there. Go deposit $10 on Underdog with promo code FLOCK. You have $20 in your account. Check out all the cool player props they have. And then go bet that $20 on the Cooper Kupp over. But that's all I got. I think that we should just dive right into this. And let's start off with Kyle Pitts. Now, what I want to do at the beginning part of this video is I want to look at the guys I drafted, because the guys I drafted, y'all know I'm very transparent with you. I try to talk about our hits, talk about our misses, and I think that a lot of us have Kyle Pitts on our team. Now with Kyle Pitts, he failed week 1, he failed week 2, and I came out on a video and I said, you know what? I'm the last idiot on this planet that is still willing to do this. But I'm doubling down, double or nothing on Kyle Pitts here. And there are some underlying red flags where I want to blame everything on Marcus Mariota. I mean, I think 99% of the blame is to fall on Marcus Mariota's shoulders, where you had 7 completions this week. You had 139 passing yards. If you're getting 7 completions, there's going to be nobody at all that's productive in Atlanta, but this falls on us. We should have known that Marcus Mariota was going to be a bad quarterback. I mean, it's not on Mariota why my fantasy team is bad. He's doing his best. It's my fault for not knowing that this was going to severely cap Kyle Pitts' overall upside. But there's also one other thing that is a little concerning here. This guy, Parker, I can't even pronounce this game. I don't know who this guy is. Had more snaps than Kyle Pitts this week. Kyle Pitts ran 12 routes. 12 routes. Compare this to Drake London. Yes, the overall volume was down. Drake London only had 19. But still, if you're playing in a low volume passing attack like this, where there's such a small pie in general because Marcus Mariota is not providing a lot of production, if you're Kyle Pitts, if you're Drake London, if you are going to be someone that we can start every week in fantasy, you need to be taking a massive chunk of that pie. If we're getting a small sliver of a small pie, we're starving. I'm sitting here starving, wondering where these points are with Kyle Pitts. I think I was wrong. I think you're right to panic on Kyle Pitts. Now, the question is, what can we do? If you need a tight end, can't sell Kyle Pitts for Hawkinson. And you're not going to be able to get Andrews. You're not going to be able to get Kelsey. Even Darren Waller is someone that will be later on in this video. I think there are very real reasons to be scared about Darren Waller. So in reality, I think that we were so wrong about Kyle Pitts, but I don't want you to trade him, because if you do trade him, you are going to be selling at an all-time low. To be fair with Kyle Pitts, this is still a player that, in my opinion, is an elite level talent. He's only 21 years old. He's a 21-year-old tight end. I expect him to get better. So I need to come out here, officially apologize, tell you, I think I was wrong on Kyle Pitts. If we drafted Kyle Pitts in the 3rd round, we were 100% wrong. But just because we can admit that we were wrong on drafting him in the 3rd doesn't mean we should be going out there and selling him for Tyler Conklin. I think you keep Kyle Pitts. Maybe if we can go trade Gerald Everett for him, trade Tyler Conklin for him, if someone's truly panicking, maybe is a way buy low, like buy super, super, super low. But oh my gosh, Kyle Pitts, give me something. Now our next guy, a wide receiver I drafted a ton, Diontae Johnson. With Diontae Johnson here, I'm honestly comfortable saying that I think we had the right call with where Diontae Johnson was going in drafts. Wide receiver 7 from a points per game basis last season. Comes in this year, first 3 weeks, double-digit targets every week. Now week 4 here, very poor performance. Now he plays 57 snaps. I mean, it's by far and away the wide receiver 1 from an overall usage standpoint. However, from an efficiency standpoint, George Pickens looks like he may be taking over as the wide receiver 1 in Pittsburgh. Diontae Johnson ended up dropping a ball / letting it go through his hands that led to an interception from Trubisky at the beginning of this game. And afterwards, really, George Pickens and Freiermuth had the majority of this offense, where you had only 204 passing yards in this offense. Going back to what we were talking about with Atlanta, a small pie to go around. And if you are going to see a wide receiver overcome that small pie, that small offensive production in general, you need a massive chunk of it. With George Pickens, the man had 102 receiving yards out of the 204 passing yards in this offense. Legitimately, Pickens had half of this passing offense. Diontae Johnson, 2 receptions, 11 receiving yards. Diontae Johnson, 4 targets as well. Very similar to Kyle Pitts. There are clear reasons to panic. At the same time, I don't necessarily know what we would go through and sell Diontae Johnson for, strictly because you're not going to be able to get the value that you can get excited about. I think that we probably have to ride it out, but we are not going to be starting Diontae Johnson this week. I think Diontae Johnson, despite me calling him a must-start player every week, is going to be someone that has to go down to your bench. Now, our most drafted wide receiver in fantasy, guys, I hit on this, okay? Jalen Waddle was the top 5 wide receiver before Tua Tagovailoa went down. But when Tua went down, when you had Teddy Bridgewater coming in, obviously, things went downhill for Jalen Waddle. You had Tyreek Hill just commanding so many targets in this offense. And I think this makes sense because if you put yourself in the shoes of Teddy Bridgewater, you're a quarterback that comes into a game, your backup wasn't expecting to play. What is your job? Is your job to be the hero? Is your job to come in and win this game? Or is your job, okay, let's not turn the ball over. Let's not get sacked. Let's make sure that we don't ruin it. I think that's what your mindset is. I think that's your job. So when you are Teddy Bridgewater coming in for a game plan that wasn't for you, I think you go look at that first read in your offense, which is Tyreek Hill. And if Tyreek Hill has 2 inches of space, you're throwing it to Tyreek Hill. You're not going through your progressions. Last thing you want to do is take a sack. So it makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, why Jalen Waddle, why that secondary wide receiver in Miami would take that step back whenever you add to Tua Tagovailoa go out. Now, with that being said, obviously, we are not expecting Jalen Waddle to continue to be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy as he was when we had no Tua Tagovailoa in this offense. Of course, you're not expecting that. But to go through and talk about benching Jalen Waddle, to go through and talk about trading away Jalen, I don't think you do that. I think that Jalen Waddle maybe is, instead of being a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy as he was previously, now with the downgraded quarterback is going to fall down to being a mid wide receiver 2 to a high end wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Still, please play Jalen Waddle every single week. Don't overthink it. But now going over to our next wide receiver, someone that people were drafting at the 3-4 turn in underdog drafts, Gabriel Davis. With Gabriel Davis, I thought over the past 2 weeks, he'd be someone that we wanted to put in our starting lineup. I didn't have him in a lot of leagues, but I thought he was going to crush. If we go and look at the matchup he had against the Baltimore Ravens, hell, this is a secondary for Baltimore that is known to give up big days. They gave up 500 passing yards to Joe Burrow at the end of last year. They give up 6 passing touchdowns to Tua Tagovailoa. And Gabriel Davis, I know a lot of people want to blame it on the ankle. And maybe if Gabriel Davis was playing like 50% of the snaps, then I would agree with you. Maybe it is the ankle injury. If they have him out there 50% of the snaps and he's still being efficient on a per route run basis, I would agree and go, it's just the ankle injury. Don't worry about Gabriel Davis. But Gabriel Davis 2 weeks ago ran 70 routes against the Miami Dolphins, and the man had 6 targets. This past week, against the Baltimore Ravens, in what was supposed to be a fantastic matchup, he ran 42 routes. These are both more than Stephon Diggs. He's had more routes than Stephon Diggs over the past 2 weeks. And with all that volume, 112 routes run for Gabriel Davis in this offense, he has had 9 targets. Even if we go back to week 1 where all the Gabriel Davis truthers wanted to point and laugh at me for not drafting him. Yes, he had a good game against the Los Angeles Rams, but he had 5 targets in that individual contest. So you have Gabriel Davis playing in an offense that has probably close to the most passing attempts in the entire NFL. And Gabriel Davis has accounted for 14 targets through the 3 weeks he has played, I think you have to dramatically lower your expectations down to Gabriel Davis. I mean, even if he's going up against brutal secondary where we think that it's going to be a shootout game like what we just had with the Baltimore Ravens, maybe we don't even start him in great matchups until we actually see something. But now going over to our next wide receiver and keeping it very brief here. I mean, I see some casual fantasy football players panicking on Ja'Marr Chase. Don't panic. I mean, please calm down. Ja'Marr Chase puts up one of the best rookie seasons of all time last year. Ja'Marr Chase goes through in this past week, disappoints where T. Higgins on Thursday night, 7 receptions, 124 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. Ja'Marr Chase, he only had 81 receiving yards. Boo freaking who. Like, it's hilarious to see everybody panic on Ja'Marr Chase, where Ja'Marr Chase this past week, 12 fantasy points. That's a bad week for Ja'Marr Chase. Ja'Marr Chase the week prior, 15 fantasy points. If we take a step back and look at Ja'Marr Chase so far this season, Ja'Marr Chase has accounted for 41 targets. 41 targets here. The volume's been consistent. I don't think that you need to panic at all with Ja'Marr Chase. This is a wide receiver that you're going to be able to go through. You're going to be able to play every single week. I still view him as a top 3 player. I wanted to put it out there because I know somebody's going to think, oh, do I trade Ja'Marr Chase for T. Higgins and Curtis Samuel? No, do not do that. Going over to Curtis Samuel, though, let's talk about the Washington offense. Now, with Washington, I mean, after the first 2 weeks, we were saying to sell high on every single player here. And I think that we are kind of seeing why I said that. I mean, if we're looking at the competition for touches in this offense, there are a lot of great playmakers. There are a lot of guys you want to get excited about. You have Terry McLaurin, you have Curtis Samuel, you have Jahan Dotson, you have Logan Thomas, you have Antonio Gibson, you have J.D. McKissick. You have so many players that are looking to get the ball. We're back week 1, back week 2, where Carson Wentz through the first 2 weeks had 650 passing yards, where Carson Wentz through the first 2 weeks had 7 passing touchdowns. Yeah, those players, they can all eat. If that pie is massive, they can all take a little slice of it, and they're going to be more than enough to go around. However, are you expecting that to happen with Carson Wentz very often? Or are we going to look at what we had over the past 2 weeks, where Carson Wentz over the past 2 weeks, 211 passing yards against the Eagles, 170 passing yards against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, keep in mind, yes, those are great defenses. I'll be the first person to admit that. But also, 1 passing touchdown, 2 interceptions. Now, do I think that Carson Wentz is as bad as he has been week 3, 4, rest of season? No. But do I think he is as good as he was weeks 1 and 2, rest of season? No. Now, with that being said, if Carson Wentz is a quarterback that's consistently throwing the ball for 240 or so passing yards, 1 to 2 pass touchdowns per game, as we've discussed, there are too many players. There are too many guys at the table to try to eat off a mediocre pie for any of these guys to have an elite ceiling in fantasy football. Go take the name appeal of Terry McLaurin. Go take it's going to be harder to do now, but try to go take the odd start that Curtis Samuel had. Go try to take the upside of Jahan Dotson. Go try to package one of these wide receivers with someone else in your starting lineup to get an upgrade. We can say the same thing here with Antonio Gibson, especially before we get Brian Robinson back. Going to be very worried about Gibson. Now our last player, Darren Waller. Darren Waller, literally over the past 2 weeks, this has been one of the number one things to look at. He has been playing fewer and fewer snaps. Darren Waller, back week 2, week 3, Darren Waller played less snaps than we're really ever used to see him play. But I thought Darren Waller was going to have a great game today. I thought Darren Waller, when you had no Hunter Renfrow, no Foster Moreau, it's like, okay, well, yeah, he's going to play pretty much every single snap. We're going to get a lot of routes run. And Darren Waller will give us one of his vintage games that we can sell high. Well, we got a decent amount of routes run for Darren Waller. 35 routes run for Waller. If we're going to be comparing this, that's to Davante Adams at 38. They were neck and neck in this offense. However, you only had 5 targets for Darren Waller. If we go through, look at the past 4 weeks now, Darren Waller is yet to give you a performance that you're that excited about outside of week 2. And going back to what we were discussing in the fact that this was about the best spot you could imagine, literally, no Foster Moreau. At the same time, no Hunter Renfrow. I thought Darren Waller would be a complete smash this week. If he can't perform in this context where the Raiders are able to put up a ton of points as well? I don't know. I mean, obviously Kyle Pitts is scary, but I think Darren Waller is kind of going under the radar as a disappointment here as well. But that's all I got for you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, leave anything you have for me down there in the comment section. I'm going to try to respond to as many of those comments as I can. And of course, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK. They're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. And go take the advantage of this Cooper Kupp line. Crunch the numbers. The under looked kind of appealing, but that's going to be on you. Thank you again. I appreciate you. Hope you have a great day, and hope we get to see you out in the live stream tonight.